All right, my friends, in this video, I want to go over a more intermediate flow, looking at some cool skills, including a behind the back catch from under the leg, a reverse flip, another under the leg mill transition, and then traveling into a frontal helicopter rainbow mill, which I'll go over, and then ending in a rack position via a lateral rack catch. So here's what it looks like. And then the next side. So this flow has a lot of elements that are tightly woven together, and we're transcending a little bit of just freestyle and going into classic at the same time. So let's start out with that under the leg behind the back catch. This is a simple rotation, simple as in the flip, just like this. If you are not already familiar with the behind the back catch coming from in front, we are coming across the body, trying to keep that bell low so we can release low and keep it tight. If it goes too far away from me, what happens is I have to reach for it. If I overthrow, meaning I throw from back here, back towards me, what happens is that bell starts to go behind the back, and that, as you can see by my elbow, has me catch the bell here instead of here, which then stifles the process of going up to that reverse flip. Because we're only doing a reverse flip coming out, it's okay if we catch a little to the inside of the back, but ideally we want to release, have the ball stay here, have the handle rotate, and so we're catching it as far to the side as possible, and then we're able to roll out with momentum into that reverse flip. Going under the leg, a few more notes on that actually, this is your first time. Cleaning up your spin, so making sure that handle is spinning really cleanly without any weird rotation, meaning we are releasing with our thumb downwards right in the middle is really helpful. And then when it comes to the catch, ensuring that we are efficiently releasing and then getting our hand back there fast, as well as keeping an open palm here. What happens is if I try and close too quick or my hand is reaching other than palm up, is that handle is going to rotate and hit my hand either on the fingertips, which sucks, or on the back of the knuckles, which is also no fun. So release, and just like if you were to catch in front of the body, open up your palm. I have a running joke with a client called mitten hands. So we got our mitten hands open for the catch, and so that bell handle makes contact here in the middle of the palm, not on the fingertips, or if you close too quickly, what happens is sometimes the handle will hit your wrist. So open palm. Going under the leg isn't that much more difficult. What we are doing is just staying low. And if anything, going under the leg sort of reinforces the fact that we want to release lower instead of up here to get behind. So practice that. Here we have our under the leg, behind the back catch. When we roll out of this movement, moving on, we have a simple reverse flip, an easy reverse flip. Under the leg, reverse. Now I recommend getting that reverse flip, firstly, not behind you. So when you're rolling out, be intentional not to do that reverse flip behind you, or else you're going to have to travel forwards at an angle across your body. And also get a little bit of height on it. So we're not throwing behind us, we're throwing slightly in front of us, a little high, which is going to help us out go for our next movement. Always layers of more intention you can introduce. Under the leg, behind the back catch, reverse flip nice and high, and now we're traveling into our under the leg oblique mill transition. Now, if this is too difficult, you can regress to a easier oblique mill transition, meaning not going under the leg. And so if you'd like to practice that one, you can. Quick note on these guys, we're going across the body, leading with the thumb because it's an oblique release. I'm coming up by this shoulder, releasing, catching by the opposite shoulder. And you see how my hands are oriented. They're like C's. C's to the side. Or as, again, a running joke with some clients, Darth Vader choking someone to the side. That's the hand orientation. You'll see the back of my palm is facing you. That is going to give us a nice entry point. So here's what that looks like. Bang. And I can make contact on the side of the handle high up near the bell. Bang. Okay? Catching hand is waiting on the inside. Whoa. On the inside. Bang. Keep your hands up high, get that rotation done so you can catch it high so you can roll out into the next movement we have. Going under the leg, just ensure that we are shifting our weight. So in this case, under, catch, reverse flip. On that reverse flip, I'm shifting my weight. So this leg's free to move. And then I'm driving under near my knee. So not here, near the knee, which I have the most height with. And then I'm going to have the same release. This time, I'm just going to wrap as much as I can before releasing. And that wrap will allow me to throw back the same way that bell came, to allow the same catch, and then I'm going to roll out. So here's what that whole process looks like so far. Under the leg, reverse, under the leg, mill, transition, oblique mill, transition. Now we have a fun movement, and this is a helicopter rainbow. In classical juggling, this is what we call our heli rainbow mill. I am starting from behind me. I'm coming up into this mill-like circle, where I'm catching with the opposite hand. Now we can do this movement in front of the body as well. Not to confuse you with the element names, but this is technically in the World Juggling Association element official names, simply called a lateral heli mill, lateral helicopter mill. But in the Russian system, they refer to it still as a frontal heli rainbow mill. Either or, it doesn't really matter. What we are doing is after we are done that oblique mill transition, we are driving towards the outside of our body. And we're going to continue to rise up, orientate the handle in this helicopter release position. So the handle is parallel to the floor. And I'm going to pull back. And so that trajectory is not going away from me. It is in the circle coming back towards this side. And that is when I'm going to release and catch. If you release too early, here's what that looks like. That hand is just going to go upwards or to the middle, which we also don't want. We don't want to catch it with the opposite hand by the middle because we're not going to be able to go back out to the outside, which is where we're going to be going next. So I want you to see how I elongate my arm after catching the oblique mill transition. Keep rolling out. I'm forming this circle. And then once I know I am traveling back in this direction, by keeping the handle parallel to the ground, I'm releasing it with my thumb so I can get a helicopter spin where I'm going to catch it here. Take a look. Technically, we are only doing a half flip. If I release here, I am catching here. And it is technically only a half flip, so not a lot of spin is actually needed. However, keeping that handle flat is what's difficult with these. So here we go, under leg mill transition, long, bang. And you notice how my both hands are high, release, and I'm not creating a big gap upon the release and catch. I'm fairly close, release, catch. And then ideally we have kept this movement lateral, meaning as I come up, I'm coming around, staying close to the body here, releasing that lateral, and then catching here, so I can drive back across the body. Sometimes what happens is people will come up and then release sort of forwards, and so they end up catching here, which then doesn't allow them to go to the outside, but forces them to go into a swing. So again, playing with these angles and keeping the bell lateral, long and lateral, is what takes practice. So once again, here's what we have so far. Under the leg, simple catch, reverse, transition, long, bang. And you see now I'm coming across my body towards this side. Last movement is going to be our rack catch. Now this is going to be a difficult one if you aren't familiar with the helicopter, because it's going to happen rather quickly. Lateral rack catch looks like this. Okay, I'm coming across my body, staying pretty tight, releasing a gentle, simple flip, and then inserting high so I don't have to have that handle hit me so hard. So that is our lateral simple rack catch. After the heli, depending on where you catch the heli rainbow, frontal heli rainbow, you're going to be coming across ideally laterally, so it'll set you up nicely for that rack catch. You might be coming a little bit behind you or a little bit in front of you, but that again is part of juggling. There's always a catalyzing effect. If you throw one movement out of plane, everything else sort of begins to get out of plane, something to be aware of. And that is how we're going to end this flow. So whole flow from now, we have under the leg, behind the back catch, reverse, under the leg, oblique mill transition, heli, rack catch. And then we start the next side, under the leg, behind the back, reverse, oblique mill, heli, rack catch. If you want to spice up this flow, here's what I recommend if you're a little more advanced. When you do that heli rainbow mill, go behind the back into a rack position. So that would look like this. Under, reverse, oblique, heli, behind the back to rack. If you want to spice it up even more and you're more advanced, I would do a helicopter release to the side to then go into that behind the back, under, double, behind the back to rack. Some ideas for progressing these movements. So once again, full advanced version, bang, here, here, bang, and then the next side. And if you're like me, you want to spice it up some more, I am a big fan of adding taps to the side before, instead of reverse flips. So that is it for our flow. Practice each element individually. Practice adding two elements together, and then put the whole thing together. Take your time. If you are unfamiliar with some of these movements in juggling foundations, I have tutorials for the behind the back catches. I have tutorials for all of the other movements, oblique mill transition, not under the leg, but the regular oblique mill transition. And then I get into some helicopter mills on 90, which are going to be similar to that frontal helicopter rainbow. That is it for this flow. We'll see you next time.